Hello, citizens of YouTube. I wanted to today talk about alternate heating and lighting sources for both indoor and outdoor. But first, I wanted to thank everybody who has subscribed. Really appreciate that, and I really appreciate the encouraging words. I don't feel comfortable in front of a camera, as though many of you probably could tell. So back to the conversation. I wanted to talk about these alternate heating and lighting sources. Now, I'm up in the White Mountains in my cabin, where I would bug out if I had to. Um, my main heating source is the central heating and air. Um, Unfortunately, though, it's run off of propane, which is quite expensive. But hey, it's another option. We keep the tank filled, we use as little of it as possible. Um, I also have, which I did not pull out, some very good uh, space heaters. These are not your cheap $30 ones. These are the ones that are hermetically sealed with oil, and the oil heats up. They normally run right around $99 to $130 a piece. We have about two of those, which I did not pull out. But here before you is what I really wanted to talk about. Now, the two cylindrical items that you see in the background, one of them has a teapot on, are called Perfection heaters. I encourage you all to check them out. They're powered by kerosene. They offer both a lighting source as well as a heating source. They're over 100 years old, and that's what our folks used to use when they were, trying to prep and whatnot. Like I said, they're used by kerosene. They get hot enough to easily boil water in a teapot, and that's what that top is for. And if you really, really had to, you can probably fry something inside a heavy-duty cast iron pan, which you see I got laying out. I got one of the Perfection heaters going. I don't know, I might just turn off the lights so you can actually get a better view of what it looks like, but I'll do that later in the video. I keep plenty of kerosene, stockpiled, and they're really nice. They're also considered space heaters as well, and they get very hot. And what I like about them is their antique look. They're light, they're portable. We get a lot of compliments on them. Once again, they're called Perfection heaters. You can find them all over eBay. If you were to buy them, be very careful. There's a kerosene tank that holds both the tank and the cylindrical wick. Now, you could probably look all this up online. I'm not going to bore you to death with it. My only advice when buying one of these online is to make sure with the customer who is selling them that there's no pinholes in the tank. They can be repaired, the pinholes and whatnot. One of them we found in an antique shop locally in Tucson. The other one I did buy off of eBay. We then scratched it all down, or whatever you call it. I took it to actually a professional who sandblasted it and powder coated it black. But you don't have to do that. We did. The next thing I want to talk to you, and it's in the middle of the screen, is a pellet stove. Like I said, I have a essential heating, and unfortunately it's run off of kerosene, which is not kerosene, propane, which is very expensive. So we decided to get what we call a pellet stove. Many of you probably know what these are. They're another alternate heating source that requires bags of pellets. Each bag lasts us, depending on how cold your area is and how hot your stove is, each bag lasts us maybe a day and a half long. We calculated it out to about 90 bags per winter cycle. That brand that you're looking at is called a Harmon XXV, or 25, Harmon 25. It is considered the Cadillac of pellet stoves, along with about 2 or 3 other name brands that are out there. That throws out some serious heat. That particular unit is good for 2,500 square foot home, but we here in the White Mountains only have about a 15, I think it's actually a 14 and change square foot home. So it's pretty adequate. It is electric powered for the fan to blow out the hot air. However, that also, because underneath us in the ground there's a crawl space, I have the option of setting up some battery packs and whatnot and running the electrical cable to battery packs in case of an emergency or power outage. What would happen in a power outage is if there's no electricity, the fire would blow, but the blower motor wouldn't blow the hot air. There's our main heating source right there. It's a Harman XXV. Something else I have about 3 Coleman lanterns. All of them are dual fuel, meaning they can use gasoline or the white Coleman camp fuel. Now, I wouldn't recommend using those indoors, but in a pinch, on a low heat setting, briefly, you can, come in the house and do what you got to do, but immediately leave the house. They are really not intended for, especially when you use gasoline, they are not intended for the inside of your home. I kind of liked the old fill it with liquid fuel and then you pump it. To me, that's my style. That's what I grew up with. I'm not into the propane tank Coleman lanterns. So all of mine are, you fill it with fuel and you pump it up. You pump the pressure up, which you saw was me doing this on the side of the screen. You pump it up using the pressure valve on them. So all of them are, again, you fill it up with liquid and you pressurize them, and they take the little mantles that burn. I like them. I have about 3 of them. All of them, again, I know I'm repeating myself, are dual fuel. Another heating source, not heating source actually, actually far from heating, lighting source, are those 2 little kerosene lanterns. Those things are so cute, cool. Especially when they get a little dirty, honest to God. So we have a nice wooden porch outside our wooden cabin. And what we'll do is we'll put a few of them along the railing and turn them on. And the people who are walking by, man, we get so many compliments on them. They offer an excellent source of lighting outside, as well as the Coleman lanterns. Those little things costed us, I believe, $9 and change at Ace Hardware. So there's another outdoor alternate lighting source. The good thing about both of those outdoor lighting sources is they're pretty much impervious to wind. Those small little lanterns are called hurricane lanterns. I mean, they're not going to blow out. And they're all pretty efficient with the fuel that they use. Even those taller Perfection heaters. Since I've owned them, I don't think I even had to replace any kerosene. What you see in that little guy, that little container, I think that's what I've used in, I want to be pretty accurate. Since I've owned them, I've owned those heaters for approximately 3 or 4 years now. Now I'm going to openly admit I don't use them all the time. I'm only going to use them in emergencies, but when I have used them, that's all I've used, is that what's left in that half of container. So those are some of the alternate heating and lighting sources. Do they encompass everything? Absolutely not. Something else I have, and I wanted to make a recommendation. is some of these newer flashlights that are coming out on the market are freaking awesome. We've all gone into the gun shops and we've seen those fancy $150 flashlights. I think they're called Streamlight or something like that. Freaking ridiculously expensive. A complete joke, if you ask me. I'm not saying a joke on the quality, but the price. I can't see myself paying $150 for a flashlight. So check out the number 4 sevens, and the word sevens is spelled out. 4 sevens. They have some flashlights, I promise you, that are just as good and probably a third of the price. I got me one called a Quark. It's literally an inch and a half tall, and the thing puts out close to 290 lumen. That's enough to blind me, metaphorically speaking. It will give me nighttime blindness, temporary nighttime blindness when you shine it in somebody's face. I have a couple of their other flashlights. So check out 4 sevens. The good thing about it is their high power output, but they also have multiple modes. And one of the modes that I really, really like is one called Moonlight. And it's a very dim light, enough to read and enough to illuminate a room as though you were in moonlight. But when you take a look at the specifications on some of 4 sevens flashlights, Moonlight on a set of batteries can last, on some flashlights, 7 to 14 days. Now, obviously, you're not going to burn a flashlight for 14 days straight, but think about that. If you were to, let's say, get in a pinch and you need some kind of lighting, turn one of those flashlights on Moonlight mode. Now, obviously, you might only need it for a couple of hours. The kids then go to sleep. You go to sleep. Everything gets turned off. Boom. You can see how a moonbeam mode that would last 2 weeks could turn into a month. They all take those short lithium batteries, even the bigger ones. I recommend, again, 4 sevens. Check out their flashlights. That's all I really got to talk about. I'm going to turn off some of the lights so you can see what that little, the middle, that one right there, that middle perfection looks like. And hopefully it is 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So I doubt if you'll actually see any of the light output. But you'll see how pretty it is. Give me a second here while I turn off some of the lights. Shutting the blinds too. And I'll shut the kitchen light off that's behind you, so you can see a little bit of what it looks like. But at nighttime, they are pretty. The pattern of light they put on the walls is pretty. I'm talking about the Perfection heaters. But also this Harmon stove, I have it on low, only for display purposes only for this video, but when you turn that up, it looks pretty. I mean, it's an attractive looking flame. It brings a little atmosphere to our living room. But anyway, I bored you enough. I'd be interested in hearing your comments. Again, I didn't go over all the safety features. I can guarantee you somebody's going to comment and say, oh, you shouldn't keep the kerosene so close to the open flame of the Perfection or the Harmon stove. I know that, but both flames are on so low that there is no danger right now of any kind of explosion. So give me a thumbs up. Thank you again for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. As you can tell, I'm no expert. I'm just collecting things that I might be able to use in a shit hit the fan scenario or in bad economic times. You know, all these things would work for us, especially if while times are good, we're saving up and purchasing all this. When the times are bad, we'll have it all. And you guys take care, and I hope to see you again on a future video.